A profile parting is taken from the center of the forehead to the center of the nape. A horseshoe section is taken from below the crown to the recession area. Keeping the profile parting in place, a slightly diagonal forward section is taken from the center back of the horseshoe to the nape. With the head upright, the section is slightly over-directed back and elevated to 90 degrees. The line is point cut, decreasing in length from the interior to the perimeter. Another diagonal forward section is taken. Subdivide the previous section to use as a guide. It is over-directed back to the previous section, elevated to 90 degrees, and point cut to follow the guideline. Diagonal forward sections are continued and the technique repeated until reaching behind the ear. Working in front of the ear, a diagonal forward section is maintained. It is over-directed back behind the ear, elevated to 90 degrees, and point cut following the guideline. Diagonal forward sections are repeated towards the hairline. The hair is combed back to a stationary guideline behind the ear, elevated to 90 degrees, and point cut to follow the guide. The shape is cross-checked horizontally. And the balance checked. Exactly the same technique is repeated on the opposite side. Note, the hand position has changed. Here, the hair is held from the top of the section. The perimeter is now personalized to suit. The hair is combed to natural fall and point cut on the skin in the back. And at 1 finger's depth through the sides. Check balance. Radial partings are taken from the crown to the back of the ears, separating the back from the front. With the profile parting in place, a pivoting radial section is taken. It is combed to 90 degrees, over-directed, and point cut to follow the graduation guideline from the underneath, at the same angle. The top half of this section is reworked with point cutting to follow the head shape and reduce weight. Pivoting radial sections are continued until the radial parting is reached. Each section is combed to 90 degrees, over-directed, and point cut to follow the graduation guideline. The top part of each section is reworked in the same way. The balance is checked. The technique is repeated on the opposite side. And the balance cross-checked. Working in front of the radial parting, a pivoting radial section is taken. The over-direction of this section is determined by hair density. In this case, it is over-directed back to the previous section, and the guideline followed. Pivoting radial sections are continued until the profile parting is reached. Each section is over-directed back to the previous. It is elevated to 90 degrees from the round of the head, and point cut to follow the guide. The balance is checked. Exactly the same technique is continued on the opposite side. hair is now blow-dried using a combination of fingers and a styling brush. The hair has been coloured using a diamond technique, which can be viewed on our classic colouring series. After blow drying, the hair is personalised. The front perimeter is combed to natural fall, held at 1 finger's depth, and point cut to detail the angle. The graduation below the occipital is held in the comb and deep parallel point cut. The perimeter is again personalized with point cutting. Using exactly the same sectioning pattern as for the cut, the hair is texturized with deep parallel point cutting to further reduce the weight within the shape and create texture. Sides are also personalized with a surface channeling technique. A finishing product is applied and the hair power dried to emphasize the texture. Transient graduation recap. Below horseshoe. Partings and sections are diagonal forward. Distribution is 90 degrees to over-directed. Elevation is 90 degrees to over-directed. And the line cut is vertical graduation, above horseshoe. Partings and sections are pivoting radials. Distribution is 90 degrees to over-directed. Elevation is 90 degrees to to over-directed. And the cut is rounded visually to the head shape.